Hey everybody, this is Leighton with Schnell Guitars. I've been away from the scene for a little while and I wanted to do a quick update so everybody knew what was going on and just for having some fun. So here we are in the newly renovated basement space. It's pretty sweet. You'll have to take my word for it. I'm not doing a house tour here, but we'll get to the importance of that in a moment. On the wall here, I do have a couple of Schnell guitars hanging up. Here's a personal one of mine that is in the process of getting finished as I get time. And this one is serial number, see if we can see it in there, 1317. That is, 13's been kind of my lucky number as long as I can remember. This is the 13th guitar I've built, and it was closed in 2017. Still haven't gotten around to finishing it. That's kind of the way it goes. This one's for me, so it doesn't pay the bills, and it's going to be probably one of the last ones to get done, at least until I catch up on what I have in stock right now. This one is a pretty fun guitar. It's a 22.5-inch scale length, 22.25-inch scale length guitar. Built it for my 4-year-old and gave it to her for her birthday this year. It's got a used Gibson patent applied for pickup in there that sounds really nice. A single volume control, fully floating bridge. It's fully hollow body, parallel braced. And this one is 1818 and it's marked P as prototype. That's how my numbering scheme works. It's first the number model that it is that's been produced. So this one's 18. I've done 19 guitars now. And it finishes with the year that the body was closed, and in this case 18. I've been slacking a little bit on building guitars because I've been, frankly, life's got the better of things here. So like I mentioned, I just created this, built this for my 4-year-old. We also have a 9-month-old. This space that I just told you about needed to be finished. This beam up here was installed by me. All the renovation work and pretty much everything but the drywall was done in this room by me and by my family. So we've been busy working on things like that. I have started working outside the shop in a role as a product manager for a software development company. And so things are good, and I do want to get back to more building. But first let me give you a little treat of what this thing sounds like. Not the best, don't get the most time to practice my guitar work, but you know, figured I'd give you something to listen to, so. So this guitar hasn't gotten a final setup on it. Action's still a little bit wonky, but let me walk you through. It's super simple to build a 24 3/4 inch scale Gibson type guitar, or a 25-inch scale PRS, or 25.5 Fender. These are, well-known scale lengths. They work well with common gauge strings. They're going to play in a traditional way. The width of the neck at both the nut and the 12th fret or the 24th fret, whatever it may be, are pretty standard measurements and things like that. When you start designing a guitar like this, that is really a miniature, a travel guitar, a 3/4 size guitar, you might call it. You don't have any of that to go off of. And so some of the considerations you have to make are, well, if I shorten the scale, where will the bridge land on the body? Because, we want it centered between these F holes. And we want it to sit on the center of that soundboard. Well, where's the pickup going to be? What fret does the neck have to come onto the body? And will that give enough access to the body? So some things like this. Also, what's the string tension going to be? The shorter the scale gets, the lower the string tension goes. So what gauge strings are going to work? Is it going to be able to obtain standard tuning, or you have to tune up a fifth, up a octave? What's going to happen? So this guitar is tuned to open E, or excuse me, not open E, to standard tuning in E. The other option was to tune to A, in which case I probably would have done these place marker dots differently, because I think if you tune to A, it would be a little bit strange to see the dots where they are, and it might be a little more intuitive to someone used to playing the guitar tuned to E, with those dots just adjusted as though you kind of had a capo on there. Also, I opted to keep a standard nut width here. Typically at, a few frets down, the neck would be wider. So there's some argument to say, oh, make the neck wider. This guitar is running 11 gauge strings, and I find the string tension to be perfect. It's a touch on the light tension side, but there's not an excessive amount of buzzing. And I think that for the customer, for for my 4-year-old who I built this for, this works perfectly. So that's a little walk around of this guitar. There's some nice little features. It's got a nice, there's quite a bit of fall away in the horn here, so that the access is very easy. It's got a French polish finish that'll be easy to touch up, when she inevitably dings it up. I've added a little sound port up here that I really, really like. I think as a player, getting that immediate feedback from the guitar where you can really hear quickly what's going on is great. This guitar is 100% made out of maple. It's book matched top and back. The sides are made out of the same hunk of maple. The neck block is the same maple. Even the neck itself is the same maple. So basically I just got one big hunk of maple and carved this guitar out of it. Worked well. It was very economical, and that was what I was going for on this guitar. Something durable, robust, and relatively economical. Then it's got just a dye finish on it. I was asked to do kind of a purple, and I had a hard time, honestly, going there and going full purple. So this is more of kind of a violin brown, but it does have some hints of kind of an orangey iridescence, and maybe a little bit of burgundy going on. So pretty cool. All right, well, let's get to the rest of this video. So, with 2 young kids, a daytime job, and a recent significant home renovation project, some things have to slip. And, as embarrassing and terrible as it is, here's the condition right now of the shop. You've got the workbench over here, where I do all my setups and build small parts and fret leveling and dressing. It's a mess. There's wax on the bench from tuning skis this winter for my daughter. My hockey equipment is laying out. There's a taxidermy fish. There's pots from outside, artwork, and all manner of things that had to be moved out of the basement when we did that renovation project that haven't found a home. And so things are in a state of disrepair. And so even if I get a moment to work, it's really hard to get much work done on guitars, which I don't get a lot of time, but it makes it hard just to come down here and work. I do have some exciting reasons to want to come and work on some new guitars. Here's a beautiful piece of Claro walnut that I'm excited to, turn into a guitar. Up here on the wood rack, we've got headstock veneers here with the Schnell Guitars logo. We've got some really beautiful curly mahogany for necks. We've got some Madagascar ebony for tailpieces and fretboards. We've got Sitka spruce for potentially a flat top guitar, a flat top acoustic, or maybe a jazz guitar. I really like spruce. I think it's a really great, responsive, fun wood to work with and to play with. We've got some walnut back here. So there's a lot of wood sitting around. There's a lot of tools sitting around. Here's the mess of a router table where we do, this is a bridge jig. We do bridge work here. This is the bandsaw where body blanks get cut out and necks get roughed out and all kinds of work gets done on. Here's the duplicate arbor buried under all this where some amount of the carving work gets done. So yeah, it's a mess. I mean, here's the drill press, right? We've got a drill press there with a hockey skate on there. That does not have anything to do with building guitars. So my objective over the next 90 minutes or so is to dig deep. I know I've enjoyed several, nice little kid's toy right there. I know I've enjoyed several videos that I've seen on YouTube of time lapses of organizing and cleaning stuff, and I'm gonna do my best to get as much of this cleaned and organized as possible. And this is all about starting, getting Schnell guitars back to where I can start showing you what I'm working on a weekly basis and actually delivering a guitar here or there. So thanks, and thanks for coming along for the ride. So we've made the first little bit of progress here, and so let me show you what a luthier's bench, or at least this one's, looks like when it's clean. So it's clean here. We've got some important things hanging up. So we've got a nice respirator here. This will help us with fine particulates and chemical if you're using different glues. If you're sanding, cutting pearl, cutting bone, cutting wood. Different woods can inflame your sinuses, so it's really good to have a nice respirator. We've got some thin pull saws. These are like some people call them like a Japanese style saw. They cut on the pull. They're very fine, and the blades are gauged for various different operations, such as fretting, things like that, fret saws. Square is just a good place to keep it. Don't use this except for when I'm roughing out and trying to get a lay of a big piece of wood to try to understand, can I fit a few necks on this? What can we fit here? Got a square, got a small jack plane down here. All these have been touched up on my stone and cleaned up and are sharpened regularly, really sharp. really go-to tools, actually. The hand planes are great. I got a couple chisels. I really love these long bladed chisels, and I keep them real sharp. I use those all the time. Just fine little work here and there. It's just always handy to have those around. Burnishing tool for sharpening my scrapers. We've got this special scale. It's got measurements down to the 64th, but it also has this cool centering ruler, which is really handy for lutherie work because so much of the work that we do is symmetrical. So you got the 0 in the middle, and you can measure out to either side. And if you center that, if you get the same measurement on both sides, you find the center. Or if you put it in the center and you want to, make the part symmetrical, you can easily do that. So nice little tool there. Small right angle, used less, but handy to have. The calipers, use them all the time. And angle gauge comes in handy pretty regular. I got some water, comes in handy, especially if you're doing glue ups. Here, got the Type Bond original. This is like the luthier special. If you're a woodworker, if you're a luthier looking for a good glue, you cannot go wrong with Type Bond. Type Bond, great glue. Got some CA or super glue, some people call it. It's a real thin one that I use here. Really nice, comes in handy all the time building guitars. Up here we've got a couple different kinds of like finish tape. This tape will not mar the finish, and it's also a little thicker than like your standard kind of blue painter's tape. This is more like a specialty painting type tape. Use this a lot for fret dressings and setups and finishing work, things like that. Got this nice nut and bridge measurement spacing ruler. The spacing between, at least on most guitars, spacing between the strings is not equidistant. The spacing between the centers is equidistant, but the string gauges themselves dictate that as they get thicker and thicker, the strings need to be a little bit wider spaced. So that's a really nice tool to have around. This is one of my favorites right here. This is a block plane. This is a Veritas. It's a up bevel. So what that means is that on the blade of this plane, the bevel is facing up, and that's opposite of a normal traditional plane. And also the angle of that is very acute. It's very tight to the wood. And so what a plane like this can do, it's got an adjustable flute, so you can keep that opening really nice and tight so you don't get tear out. And it's got a ton of adjustability built into it. Sweet tool. The precision work that you can do on something like this, getting a joint just perfect before gluing it, neck work, headstock work, any kind of little work where you just need a perfect little plane that can do it right here. Nice to have on the bench. Keep that one on the bench. Also, we've got the Starrett. I think this is a 18-inch straight edge, and so this is used during fret jobs and other work. It's nice to have a real nice straight edge, and I've got kind of a cool workbench set up here where I can actually slide that right underneath, and it's out of the way. It never gets knocked on the floor, never gets knocked out of whack, and so I know that thing's always my go-to piece of straight. And then here we've got a piece of countertop. It's super heavy. This is actually a quartzite, but I mean, it's a really heavy piece. It doesn't move around. And then we've got some sticky sandpaper. I think this is 220 on here right now. Just keep some sandpaper around there on a nice flat spot. You ever need anything sanded flush and flat at a reasonably smooth level, you just bring it over here and you can quick whip that out. If you need it a little smoother, over here you can stick some even finer sandpaper. So that's the kind of stuff you'll find on a luthier's bench when you're not set up for any specific job, just kind of the average day in, day out. All right, so I've spent way more than the 90 minutes that I thought I would spend. It's getting late, I'm getting exhausted. It's been a great night. I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. And I think like anybody who's a crafty person, you like getting your space in order so you can work on the stuff you want to work on. I've got the bench all cleaned off here. I've got the duplicarver, which also doubles as my overhead router, all cleaned off. I got the floor cleaned up, and I've started to pick away at a few other little projects, probably a little over 10% done here, maybe a little more than that. But there's definitely a bunch more hours of cleaning left to do down here, but excited to do it because I'll show you a few projects I have in the works. So here's one of those things I'm planning on working on. This is 416. This is a curly maple top, Babinga back and side, mahogany neck, and Madagascar ebony fretboard guitar. And what happened to this thing is the neck broke right at the headstock when it was shipping. So this has had the entire neck cut out and replaced. This is the original fretboard that I pulled back off, put back on, frets leveled, dressed already. So this is, you know, it's a bit of a blemished guitar. It's been through some things, but it's still super pretty. You've got the really nice cream bindings and some great curl to the finish. You know, still all the other nice touches that you'd want on a sweet guitar. So it felt like throwing it away just wasn't the right thing to do. So I'm working on fixing this one up. And here's another fun piece I'm working on. This one is kind of a prototype for a new design I'm working on. It uses a stop bar tail piece instead of the floating bridge. It's still fully hollow, but it doesn't have any bracing. It relies upon basically the approximately half-inch thick top to support all the load. And I've got another one of these out there called the Buffalo, and it works really great. This one has a forearm cut, which is really nice. It's got this belly kind of bevel to it that adds a lot of comfort, and also the heel is kind of thinned away. So it's really a fast, fun guitar, and yeah, I'm working on getting this one done. This one's lace wood. It's pretty slick looking, and also on the back, this has a really nice curly mahogany neck, which is, well, to die for. I've got this mahogany on mahogany rock arch top that I'm also finishing out. So I've got a number of guitars in the works, and getting this shop cleaned up will be just the ticket that I need to get some work done on these. So thanks for watching. If you want to keep seeing videos like this, click the subscribe button, click the like button, lets people know that you like content like this. Thanks a lot.